You've probably tried everything. You cut calories religiously, hit the treadmill until your legs burn, and slashed carbs like they were your enemy. Yet that stubborn belly fat refuses to budge. Here's what nobody tells you: you're fighting the wrong battle. The reason your midsection won't change has nothing to do with laziness or lack of effort. It's because you've been ignoring the one factor that actually controls where your body stores fat, and that factor is hormones. Your belly fat doesn't respond to restrictive dieting or endless cardio sessions the way other fat on your body does. It responds to hormones. Every calorie you count, every mile you run, every carb you eliminate, none of these strategies directly address the hormonal signals that tell your body to park fat right around your gut. But what if I told you that specific foods could rewire these signals? What if the solution wasn't about eating less but eating smarter? I'm Dr. Michael Diamond, a medical doctor and biochemist who spent years studying how food influences our bodies at the molecular level. As a pro-natural bodybuilder and founder of Sculpt by Science, I've guided thousands of clients to the leanest, healthiest versions of themselves using science-backed strategies, not fad diets. Today, I'm revealing the exact 10 foods that manipulate your hormones to stop defaulting to belly fat storage mode. But before we dive in, you need to understand something crucial. There are two types of belly fat lurking in your body. The first is visible. That's the stuff you can pinch and see in the mirror. The second is far more dangerous. It's the deep visceral fat wrapped around your organs, suffocating your liver, heart, and kidneys. This hidden fat is metabolically active and toxic, pumping out inflammatory compounds that age you from the inside out. The foods on this list target both types, but I'll specifically tell you which ones hit the hardest and which ones surprised even me. Now let's get straight to it. The first food might seem boring, but it carries the cleanest research evidence of anything on this entire list. It's oats, specifically rolled or steel cut varieties. Oats contain something called soluble fiber, and this is where the magic happens. When soluble fiber enters your gut, it dissolves in water and transforms into a thick, viscous gel that completely changes how your body processes food. Imagine a garden hose fully opened, water flooding everywhere uncontrollably. Now imagine turning that nozzle to a gentle mist. That's what soluble fiber does to the sugar entering your bloodstream. Instead of glucose flooding your system all at once, it trickles in slowly and steadily. This matters enormously because of insulin. Insulin is your storage hormone. When it spikes frequently throughout the day, your body shifts into fat storage mode rather than fat burning mode. And where does it store that fat preferentially? Your belly. So anything that keeps insulin levels stable keeps your belly fat storage at a minimum. Researchers at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center tracked over 1,000 people for 5 years using CT scans at the beginning and end to measure changes in deep belly fat. Their finding was striking. For every additional 10 grams of soluble fiber consumed daily, participants built up approximately 7% less visceral fat over those 5 years. And 10 grams isn't much. It's just 2 small apples, or 1 cup of green peas, or half a cup of beans. That's it. Here's exactly how to implement this. Start your morning with a bowl of oats and top it with a tablespoon of ground flaxseed. Add a quality protein powder if you'd like. I'm currently loving Ghost brand, especially the Oreo flavor. Aim to get soluble fiber from at least 2 different sources daily. Your options include oats, beans, lentils, apples, flax seeds, and sweet potatoes. Speaking of different sources and different approaches, food number 2 tackles the exact same deep belly fat through an entirely different mechanism. This food is salmon, and it's where inflammation enters the equation. Fatty fish like salmon and sardines contain something that mainstream diet culture completely overlooks. yet it might be the most powerful lever of all. Stick with me because the next food we're discussing will change how you think about inflammation and belly fat storage forever. That deeper belly fat wrapping around your organs isn't just sitting there passively. It's active, toxic sludge constantly pumping out inflammatory compounds throughout your entire body. Think about the last time you injured your knee. Remember how inflamed it became. Everything hurt. Walking was harder. Running felt impossible. Your whole body was aware of that inflammation. Now imagine that same inflammatory state happening everywhere inside you simultaneously, triggered by the visceral fat around your organs. That's the reality for most people carrying excess belly fat, and nobody talks about it. This chronic inflammation makes your insulin function worse, which circles back to increased belly fat storage. It's a vicious cycle. Belly fat creates inflammation. Inflammation drives more fat storage, and you're trapped in a loop with no clear exit because the mechanism was never explained to you. This is where salmon enters the picture as a powerful circuit breaker. Salmon contains omega-3 fatty acids, some of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory compounds available in food. These omega-3s actively calm inflammation throughout your body. When inflammation drops, your insulin sensitivity improves dramatically. Your storage hormone stops sending constant signals to pack fat into your midsection. Your body exits fat storage mode and returns to normal fat burning mode. Beyond its anti-inflammatory superpowers, salmon delivers 25 grams of protein per serving. This protein keeps you satisfied for hours, suppresses hunger hormones, builds and maintains muscle tissue, and keeps your metabolism running efficiently. Muscle tissue burns calories even at rest, so building it through adequate protein creates a metabolic advantage. Here's your action plan. Consume 2 to 3 servings of salmon weekly, though daily consumption is perfectly fine if you enjoy it. Sardines and mackerel work equally well if you prefer alternatives. Always choose wild, caught salmon over farmed varieties when possible. Prepare it however you like: baked, grilled, pan, fried with olive oil or air fried. The cooking method matters less than consistency. Now we're switching gears completely with food number 3, which might seem like a simple beverage but actually contains powerful fat-burning compounds. Green tea is our next weapon, and it combines 2 mechanisms that work synergistically. The active compound in green tea is called EG, which stands for epigallocatechin gallate. Yes, that's a mouthful. Green tea also naturally contains caffeine. Individually, EG doesn't accomplish much, but combine it with caffeine, and something remarkable happens. This combination releases and burns stored fat efficiently. A 12-week double-blind trial followed 240 men and women, comparing high-catechin green tea drinkers against a control group. The green tea group lost significantly more of both types of belly fat, the visible kind and the dangerous deep visceral kind. I want to be honest with you though. That study used a concentrated catechin dose, stronger than a couple of casual mugs of brewed tea. The real-world effect is more modest, but still measurable and worth pursuing. Here's how to maximize green tea's benefits. Consume 2 to 3 cups of freshly brewed green tea daily, never bottled. Most bottled versions contain virtually 0 EG and are loaded with added sugars that completely negate the benefits. Drink 1 cup before training because that's your body's optimal fat-burning window. Exercise plus green tea creates a synergistic effect. We're now halfway through our list, and you're already pulling on multiple levers simultaneously. You're stabilizing insulin with soluble fiber, cooling inflammation with omega-3s, and optimizing your fat-burning window with green tea. These aren't isolated interventions, they're buildings creating ideal conditions for belly fat loss. Food number 4 is something most people underestimate, yet it deserves superfood status. Eggs are here for 2 reasons, and neither is what you'd expect. The first reason involves something nobody discusses when talking about belly fat loss, and it completely transforms how you approach your meals. The second reason involves a nutrient most people have never heard of, yet your liver desperately needs it to function properly. This is where the real transformation begins, because when you understand how eggs manipulate your hunger hormones and support your liver's ability to process fat, you'll understand why this simple breakfast choice becomes non-negotiable. Let me explain exactly how eggs become your secret weapon against persistent belly fat. When overweight individuals swapped a bagel for 2 eggs at breakfast, keeping calories identical, something unexpected happened. They reported feeling less hungry throughout the entire day and spontaneously ate less without consciously restricting themselves. They weren't white-knuckling through cravings or fighting constant hunger. The difference came down to protein quality. 2 eggs deliver 12 to 14 grams of high-quality protein, and this protein sends a far stronger satiety signal to your brain than carbohydrates ever could. A bagel might contain similar calories, but it triggers a completely different hormonal response in your body. This is foundational because constant hunger sabotages every diet plan. When you're perpetually fighting cravings, willpower eventually collapses. But when meals keep you genuinely satisfied, eating less becomes effortless, not a battle of discipline. Over time, this reduced caloric intake without struggle leads to significant belly fat loss. However, the second reason eggs deserve superfood status is something virtually nobody discusses. Inside every egg exists a nutrient called choline, and most people are critically deficient in it. Choline is essential for one specific function: your liver's ability to move fat out of itself properly. When choline levels are inadequate, your liver struggles to process fat efficiently. Your liver essentially says, "I can't handle this fat traffic, so I'm going to store more of it." And where does that stored fat end up? Your belly, along with your other organs. 2 to 3 whole eggs daily provides a substantial portion of what your liver requires to function optimally. Here's your implementation strategy. Begin every breakfast with 2 to 3 whole eggs before consuming anything else. You can have your oatmeal and protein powder alongside them. Eating protein first keeps your insulin levels calm throughout the morning, which maintains that storage. Depression signal we discussed with soluble fiber. One meal sets the tone for your entire day's fat storage patterns. Now, food number 5 is the one most people actively avoid when attempting to lose belly fat, and this represents a critical mistake. That food is avocados, and yes, I understand your hesitation. Avocados are undeniably high in both fat and calories. Most diet culture tells you to eliminate them entirely when leaning up. This advice is wrong, particularly for women. The fat in avocados isn't generic fat. It's specifically monounsaturated fat, and it does something profoundly meaningful in your body. Monounsaturated fat improves how your cells respond to insulin. When your cells have excellent insulin sensitivity, the food you consume gets directed toward your muscles as fuel. When sensitivity plummets, that same food gets redirected to your belly for storage instead. Improving insulin sensitivity literally lowers your belly fat accumulation after every meal. Research supports this mechanism. Women consuming 1 avocado daily as part of their meals showed measurable reductions in deep visceral fat around their organs. However, I want to be completely transparent. A larger follow-up study involving over 1,000 participants didn't replicate these results uniformly. The evidence for avocados reducing deep belly fat is substantially stronger for women than for men. The critical principle here applies to both groups. Swap avocados in for something refined you're already eating, rather than adding them on top of your current diet. We want substitution, not addition. Replace toast with eggs and avocado. Swap your habitual snack crackers for avocado slices. Put half an avocado on your lunch salad instead of dressing. This strategic swap improves your nutritional profile without inflating total calories. Moving into food number 6, we're addressing something most people completely overlook despite it having direct control over your hunger hormones and fat storage patterns. Plain, unsweetened Greek yogurt might seem simple, but it connects to something far more sophisticated happening inside your digestive system. Your gut contains trillions, not billions, but trillions of bacteria. This bacterial community has direct authority over your hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, and where your body defaults to storing fat. When your gut bacteria are healthy and diverse, imagine a thriving Amazonian rainforest, thick, complex, and vastly interconnected. When diversity exists, your hunger signals become accurate. You feel full when genuinely satisfied. Your cravings diminish naturally. Your body's inclination toward belly fat storage decreases substantially. Conversely, when your microbial diversity collapses, when that rainforest becomes a barren wasteland, the opposite occurs. Hunger signals malfunction, cravings intensify constantly, your body gravitates toward aggressive fat storage patterns. Greek yogurt introduces live bacteria called probiotics, essentially deploying gardeners to restore your internal ecosystem's health and complexity. Greek yogurt contains live cultures, active bacteria that support your trillions of gut microorganisms. You're essentially bringing in a crew of expert gardeners ready to rehabilitate your internal forest from wasteland back to wilderness. This bacterial support matters because a healthy gut microbiome improves hunger signal accuracy, reduces cravings, and decreases your body's default fat storage tendency. Beyond probiotics, Greek yogurt delivers casein, a slowed, digesting protein that maintains satiety long after your meal concludes. This means less hunger between meals, fewer desperate reaches for insolence, biking snacks, and reduced likelihood of fat being redirected to your belly. The protein extends your satisfaction window, creating natural caloric deficit without conscious restriction. Here's exactly what to do. Consume 1 serving of plain, unsweetened Greek yogurt daily, not flavored varieties. Those contain added sugars, defeating the entire purpose. Flavor it yourself with fresh berries like blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, or blackberries. Add raw honey if you need sweetness. When purchasing Greek yogurt, go directly to the refrigerated section and specifically look for containers stating live cultures or active cultures. Not all Greek yogurts contain these beneficial bacteria, so this specification matters enormously. If you've already started incorporating some of these foods and noticed changes, your waist reducing, your energy improving, your cravings quieting, I'm genuinely curious which specific food created that breakthrough for you. Let me know in the comments because your results inspire me to create recipe videos combining these foods in practical ways. We're now past the halfway point, and food number 7 accomplishes 2 simultaneous jobs. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, rocket, watercress earn their spot through mechanisms far beyond simple calorie restriction. Yes, they're nutritionally dense with virtually no calories, filling your stomach before you've consumed meaningful volume. But the real magic involves a nutrient most people associate with bananas rather than greens. That nutrient is magnesium, and leafy greens represent some of nature's finest sources. Magnesium matters specifically to belly fat because your body requires it for hundreds of biochemical processes. Think of magnesium as a universal tool in your body's toolkit. Every single process, every cellular function, every metabolic pathway needs magnesium to operate optimally. This includes how well your cells respond to insulin. When magnesium intake is adequate, everything runs smoothly. Your cells respond beautifully to insulin signals. The fuel you consume gets directed toward muscle tissue and energy production. When magnesium becomes inadequate, your cells stop responding to insulin properly. More of what you eat gets stored rather than burned. Your body defaults to belly fat accumulation. Increasing magnesium intake restores cellular function and redirects that fuel toward muscles instead of midsection storage. Here's the problem. Most people in Western societies simply aren't consuming enough magnesium through food. Adding leafy greens to every single meal is your most practical solution, not as an obligatory side dish, but as the foundation of your meal. Pile your plate with raw greens first, then build your other foods around them. Alternatively, lightly cook greens with olive oil and garlic. This makes them more palatable while preserving nutritional content. Now, we transition to food number 8, which addresses something that derails most dietary attempts: cravings. Berries are nature's answer, performing double duty simultaneously. They satisfy your sweet cravings while simultaneously reducing inflammation. The biggest driver of reaching for destructive foods is processed snacks triggering intense cravings. These processed foods spike insulin violently and rapidly. Every spike sends a loud signal to your body: store belly fat immediately. Berries are sweet enough to actually satisfy your craving for something delicious, yet they don't create that same insulin spike. You get the pleasure without the metabolic penalty. The second mechanism berries employ involves polyphenols, compounds giving berries their deep red and rich colors. Think of polyphenols as rust protection for your cells. They shield cellular tissue from chronic inflammation damage. Remember when we discussed how salmon reduces inflammation? Berries work on the same inflammatory pathway through different compounds. They quietly pull two levers simultaneously: craving satisfaction and inflammation reduction. Here's your protocol: consume a handful of mixed berries daily. Fresh or frozen work equally well. Freeze berries maintain all their polyphenol content. Throw them into your Greek yogurt. Mix them into your oatmeal. Eat them straight when cravings strike. This simple addition gives you dessert-like satisfaction while actually supporting your belly fat loss instead of sabotaging it. We're approaching the final 3 foods, and the next one carries the most compelling direct evidence of anything on this entire list. Food number 9 possesses the most compelling direct evidence for reducing belly fat specifically. This research might surprise you because it's been hiding in plain sight. It's apple cider vinegar, and the study I'm about to share with you is genuinely powerful. Researchers conducted a 12-week trial with 157 obese individuals, randomly assigning them to 3 groups. Group 1 consumed 1 tablespoon of vinegar daily. Group 2 consumed 2 tablespoons. The third group received a placebo drink that tasted identical but contained no vinegar whatsoever. Crucially, nobody knew which group they belonged to. This was a properly blinded study eliminating bias. At the trial's conclusion, researchers didn't simply weigh participants. They used CT scanning technology to directly image and measure deep visceral fat around the organs. Both vinegar groups showed significantly less belly fat compared to the placebo group. They also weighed less overall. They had smaller waist circumferences. They had reduced fat circulating in their bloodstreams. Everything was actually measured through imaging, not guesswork or estimation. This is real, quantifiable evidence. The mechanism involves acetic acid, the powerful compound in apple cider vinegar. Acetic acid slows how rapidly carbohydrates are broken down during digestion. When carbohydrates break down more slowly, glucose enters your bloodstream more gradually. Slower glucose entry means a smaller, gentler insulin spike rather than a dramatic insulin surge. Smaller insulin spikes mean less belly fat storage signaling after meals. This circles back to our first principle about managing insulin as the primary lever for belly fat control. Here's the critical caveat. When the study ended and participants stopped taking vinegar, their belly fat began returning within approximately 4 weeks. This isn't a quick fix or a one-time intervention. Vinegar works only as a consistent daily habit. Don't view this as temporary supplementation, but as a permanent dietary addition. Here's your implementation. Use raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. That's the cloudy kind with sediment at the bottom containing the mother culture. Never drink vinegar straight. Mix 1 tablespoon with a full tall glass of water, diluting it properly. Consume this diluted mixture 10 to 15 minutes before your largest meals. If breakfast and lunch represent your biggest eating occasions, take it before both. The dilution is non-negotiable because straight vinegar will burn your throat and damage your teeth enamel. It's like stepping into a freezing cold shower. The discomfort will make you abandon the habit immediately. Now we arrive at food number 10, the one that genuinely surprised me when I researched the evidence. Chili peppers contain a compound called capsaicin, which is essentially what makes them hot. Most people don't realize that capsaicin does something remarkable inside your fat cells. Capsaicin activates a protein switch in fat cells called UCP1. This switch has 2 settings, burn or store. When activated, UCP1 tells fat cells to burn their stored energy as heat rather than clinging to it. Capsaicin nudges this switch toward the burn setting. Essentially, you're converting fat cells from storage mode into active thermogenic units generating heat. The research on this is fascinating because the mechanism is crystal clear in laboratory settings. But what actually happens in real people is equally impressive. Individuals consuming capsaicin regularly demonstrate smaller waist circumference over time. They're also less hungry at their subsequent meal. It accomplishes 2 useful things simultaneously. It nudges fat cells toward burning while quietly reducing your appetite naturally. Here's your protocol. Add dried chili to your meals in amounts you're comfortable with. Cayenne pepper is the accessible everyday option. Start with half a teaspoon mixed into your eggs, soups, or stir fries. Build up gradually if you're unaccustomed to heat. Don't hurt yourself pursuing results. Consistency matters more than intensity. Now zoom out and observe what we've constructed together. You're pulling on all 3 primary levers simultaneously. You're keeping insulin calm through soluble fiber and slowed carb absorption. You're cooling inflammation with omega-3s and polyphenols. You're activating fat cell burning with thermogenic compounds. None of these work as standalone miracles, but consumed together consistently, they create the exact biological conditions where belly fat releases effortlessly. We've implemented this foundation with countless clients, Sandra, Dominic, and hundreds of others. Food comes first always. But food alone represents only half the equation. The remaining 50% requires understanding precise portions and optimal timing calibrated specifically for your individual body. That's what transforms eating slightly better into genuine physical transformation. That's where the real magic happens, not in knowing what to eat, but in executing it consistently with proper quantities at the precise moments your body needs it most. Let me recap what we've covered because these aren't random foods. Each one was deliberately selected because it manipulates your hormones toward fat burning instead of fat storage. Oats and soluble fiber stabilize insulin by slowing carbohydrate absorption. Salmon and fatty fish reduce inflammation through omega-3 fatty acids. Green tea accelerates fat burning through the combined effect of egg and caffeine. Eggs provide satiety and supply choline, which your